back into our noble seat, bringing along our mindfulness from eating and having some afternoon time of sitting. Let me ring our bell. Having this wonderful half day of sitting time together, we get at least a couple of longer periods of sitting. This one won't be as long as the first one was. Our first one was the longest. Maybe some of our conversation on various emotional states arising and how we can manage them have filtered through your consciousness. As we settle once again into our noble position, our seat of comfort and willingness to be present with what arises. And I thought I would start out our sitting this afternoon with a medium length, but not too long, reading in Sister Ayakema's book, Who is Myself? It's a guide to Buddhist meditation, and she's addressing the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And she's beginning right off the bat with what we strive to do, and that is have mindfulness in daily life, have mindfulness all the time. So this is a translation. There's a brief quote here, but I think I'll start over here. The mind is a magician. It can produce a magic show anytime. The minute we go past the perception, labeling, that is what it will do, and we shall find ourselves drawn to either hate or greed. The Buddha mentions Mara the tempter. Mara is constantly with us, waiting for an opening. Temptations are unnecessary. Where they exist, we need to overcome them, but we do not even need to have them in the first place. We can stop before they start, and that means guarding the senses. The Buddha still has much to say about Potapada, about what he needs to practice before giving him any teaching on meditation and the higher extinctions of consciousness. We come now to the subject of mindfulness and clear comprehension. This is the way the Buddha's teaching progresses in many of his discourses, first through morality, then guarding the sense doors, then mindfulness and clear comprehension. The last 2 are companions, often mentioned together. Sati is mindfulness, and Sapajana is clear comprehension. In this translation, comprehension is translated as awareness. And how is a monk accomplished in mindful and clear awareness? Here a monk acts with clear awareness in going forth and back, in looking ahead or behind him, in bending and stretching, in wearing one's outer and inner robe and carrying one's bowl, in eating, drinking, chewing, and swallowing, in evacuating and urinating, in walking, standing, sitting, lying down, in waking, in speaking, and in keeping silent. One acts with clear awareness. In this way, a monastic is accomplished in mindfulness and clear awareness. So this is just a brief reminder of mindfulness having these 4 aspects of the body, emotions, underlying mood, and the content of thought. Mindfulness of the body, to which the Buddha is referring to in this passage, takes pride of place. It is essential to practice mindfulness in our everyday life not simply during our meditation periods. If there is no mindfulness outside of meditation, there will be none within it. The two go hand in hand. So we practice this first foundation of mindfulness by watching our body. We become aware of what we are doing, whether we are walking, standing, sitting, lying down, getting dressed or undressed, stretching, bending, whatever it may be. One of the advantages of being mindful of the body is that while we practice, we are also keeping the mind in its place, not allowing it to roam discursively. A second advantage is that mindfulness purifies. If we are actually watching what we are doing, we cannot in that moment be upset, angry, or greedy. The Buddha counsels us over and over to use the body as a mindfulness object. In the first place, we can feel the body and touch it. We do not have to search for its presence. If we practice in this way, we will realize in a very short time the peacefulness that arises, the absence of all mental turmoil. For how can we be aggravated or desirous or disliking while we are watching what is actually happening? Thirdly, body mindfulness keeps us in the present moment, and eventually we may learn that there is no other moment. To be in the present is actually to be in eternity. Usually we establish boundaries between moments, the past moment, the present moment, and one to come. We see them as three, but in fact, we can only be in one, the present. The other two are mind-made. They are fantasies created from memories or imagination. Most people live in the past, the future, or in a blend of the two. And if we do that, then mindfulness and meditation will be extremely difficult for us, for they are both happening now. To be aware of our emotions and what we are feeling is the second foundation of mindfulness. The fourth, he'll go into the third in a moment, is content of thought. Both it and the second, that's mindfulness of feeling, and content of thought. They're addressed in meditation and need to be continued in daily life. For instance, we should, in a meditation, For instance, should a strong emotion arise, we first recognize its content, then try to substitute the wholesome into the unwholesome. We do not have to believe every one of our emotions. If we go back to their source, we will invariably find they are due to a sense contact. It is most illuminating to check this out. The same applies to the contents of our thoughts. If we recognize them as wholesome, we simply note that, and as they subside, we return to mindfulness of the body. Should they be unwholesome, we substitute them as quickly as we can. The less time we allow the unwholesome to stay with us, the less chance there is of developing deep ruts of negativity in the mind. The more we become aware of our greed, which is an overall word for wanting, and our hate, which is an overall word for not wanting, and the less time we give either of them to settle into the mind, the easier it is to free ourselves from them. The third foundation of mindfulness is our underlying mood. This, too, is an important object of attention. If we can catch the unwholesome mood before it develops into thinking or emotion, then substitution becomes a much easier task. Some people have an underlying mood that is constantly negative and find it very hard to change. Most of us alternate between positive and negative. There are also those whose mood is mainly positive. If we find it to be one of resentment, envy, or dislike, resulting in negative thinking and negative emotions, then we can try to tackle the mood itself, recognizing as we do, so that it is nothing but a mood and has no deeper significance. Nothing that we have or think or do has any basic and profound importance. It is simply happening. We do not have to retain the thought content, the emotion, or the mood if they are detrimental to our own happiness. The more happiness we ourselves experience, the more we can give to others. It is quite impossible to give what we ourselves do not have. These are the 4 foundations of mindfulness: body, emotions, mood, and content of thought. Mindfulness means paying bare attention. There is nothing judgmental about it. It is clear comprehension that knows whether the sensation, emotion, mood, or thought process is wholesome or unwholesome, and enables us to substitute. Each of us is capable of clearly comprehending. We have sufficient wisdom to do that. We also have, of course, all the human foibles, those constant creators of unhappiness, worry, restlessness, and agitation, but we do not need to hold on to them. With clear comprehension, we can recognize this and begin to substitute the wholesome for the unwholesome. We practice this in meditation, learning to let each discursive thought go and putting our attention back on the meditation subject. And it is just the same as we practice in everyday life. So letting ourselves be here in these moments. Noticing the sense doors of hearing, the sound of the bell coming to the ears, bringing our attention into the body, into the present moment. Noticing our buttocks sitting on the chair. Feeling the breath within the body. We can get very specific in feeling it at the nostrils as cool or warm, rough or smooth, heavy or light. Present one moment at a time. Noticing when the mind roams out to the future or dwells on something from the past. Mindfulness is present, easefully and naturally, without grasping onto what is arising and passing away. And as Ayakema was mentioning, and you hear me mention many times in the instructions, we notice what arises. If they are unskillful thoughts that take us off into the past or into the future in a way that isn't helpful, we can call on one of the paramis of renunciation to let that thought go. just to come back to the breath or the sit point, finding our stable seat. Using a relaxed effort to be present. With mindfulness and awareness, attending to what's arising. We have an innate wisdom that knows how to practice skillfully. We can build moments of confidence. Whatever arises, we are present with. We can see its true nature of anicca, anatta, and dukkha, the arising of conditions coming together, our connecting and sustaining with what that is that's arising, and the release when we let it go, when it goes on its own, falls away. Nothing that we can grasp onto. And by continually paying attention and letting go, we build these skillful qualities in the mind. holding ourselves gently and in kindness as we really see clearly the impermanent nature of things rising and passing away. Sometimes profound emotions arise, the profound sadness that can sometimes overwhelm us when we understand the impermanent nature of all phenomenon. And that can open us to that vulnerability, that can open us to the world around us. We all face hardships. We understand the fleeting nature of our joys. We become aware of worry and pain and suffering that we all go through, and that we share painful experiences. And that can help us sympathize and have a wish to connect with each other. This wish arises out of love. And the more we open our eyes to our own suffering and each other's suffering, and our delusion of thinking things are graspable, the stronger our love can become. The basic nature of all phenomenon, arising and passing, beyond all concepts. Seeing clearly what arises in this moment at the sense doors, or our breath, or our sitting position. As we begin to notice directly and really understand that nothing lasts and that everything is unreal and illusory, then letting go is easier. It happens by itself without effort, naturally falling away. We begin to see clearly how things really are. How we perceive things is sometimes completely out of touch with reality. Our daydreams and fantasies and worries and fears, they arise and pass away. we continue to see what is present at our breath or at our sit point, building concentration with attention on that single object, or expanding our understanding and feeling our breath in the whole body breathing. Spaciousness of the heart and mind, mindfulness present, awareness present, and wisdom noticing when something arises that is unskillful and inclining the mind toward the skillful. Noticing clearly each moment as it arises and passes, whether it's a sensation in the body or a thought in the mind, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, how long we stay with it and when it goes on its own. Being present like that can build confidence, one mindful moment at a time. And building these moments of confidence or faith helps us deal with how we view the world and how we live within the world. It's confidence or conviction. We can begin to see where we want to incline the mind. What we're capable of doing, how we're capable of being free. Looking for a happiness that goes beyond anything we've known before. And so it's important for us to have a sense of the world that allows us to have that happiness, that allows for happiness, and a sense of ourself as capable in finding it. And so we have just the right amount of effort to develop what's going to be skillful on our path and to abandon anything that's unskillful that will get in the way. confidence in the present moment, seeing clearly what is arising, finding joy when we wake up in a moment of being lost in thought, just waking up there, easefully, naturally, noticing whether we feel pleasant or unpleasant or we can't tell. And then once again, we can go back to our breath or our seat on the cushion, or a more open awareness of our whole body breathing, calming the bodily activity. Noticing mental activity arising and passing away. Kind to ourselves, gently holding ourselves, finding our own safety in the containment of our body breathing, relaxed, being held by gravity, relaxed, being held in the container of our Sangha in the precepts. Every now and then we can ask ourselves, what is happening right now? What is the attitude of the mind? Are we lost in thought or getting hooked by a hindrance of tiredness after lunch or restlessness, aversion? Maybe there's doubt in the practice. We can be present with any of these as they arise, common human experience, just noticing and gently beginning again without judgment or shame, just beginning again with the breath or the open spaciousness of the body, allowing whatever comes to any of the senses, hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking. Maybe there's pleasure that arises the moment we wake up from being lost in thought or a dream, or that too is a moment of wakefulness. Perhaps letting a small smile happen inside your face each time there's a moment of awareness and mindfulness, waking up to the present moment. Not giving yourself any negative self-talk about what you're supposed to be doing or what you're not doing. Just being in the present. Starting again, easefully, gently, bringing compassion to ourselves and kindness to ourselves. As we bring this Vipassana sitting period to an end, let us also embrace at least metta of the Brahma Viharas, of the beautiful qualities of the mind, holding ourselves gently, inclining the heart toward kindness, toward goodwill. Including ourselves in that goodwill. May we have happiness and the causes of happiness. May I be free from harm, safe and protected, and have ease in my life. May this goodwill include others May all beings be free from suffering, be free from harm, have ease and well-being. And may the merits of our practice benefit all sentient beings. Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya domino upakitawa maruchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things arise and pass away, are subject to impermanence. And seeing this directly and clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. Thank you for your practice.